What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. Okay, let's do some overrated, underrated. Obviously, the 49ers pretty overrated right now. The number one overrated thing in the NFL, clearly. And listen, I hopped on this bandwagon. I picked this team to win the division. The Dallas Cowboys defense the last 2 weeks looks like a team that's going to win 2 or 3 games. And I understand the Saints were coming in like a freight train. The Ravens were 0-2 and had looked like shit last week. They blew a 10-point lead to the Raiders, who just got blown out by Andy Dalton. And at one point in time during the game, you're like, are the Ravens going to run for 500 yards? And here's the thing with the Cowboys. They are great front runners. And sometimes that's a very negative term. Like when things are going well, it's just in any walk of life, like people are happy. When things are going bad, people go into the tank. Some teams are just built when I'm leading the game. My defense, which is not some run-stuffing defense, they're good at pass rushing. And we got DBs, in theory, that can cover. So I'm much better when I have a 10-point lead in the second half because my defense can play to their strengths. My best player on defense is a pass rusher. He's not a run stuffer. Well, when you just run at Micah Parsons, he's not exactly Haloti Ngata. So when you get up on the Cowboys and can lean on them, it negates their strength because they don't get to play the pass. They got to stop the run. And we've seen 2 weeks in a row, teams just lean on them. And they look small. And they got shoved around. I told this to Colin earlier today. The final score of that game does not reflect what we witnessed. Not even close. That's one of the fakest scores of the season. That was an ass kicking. Cowboys got an onside kick. It was not close at all. They got demolished in that game. That game was over when it was 28-6. You might go, well, 28-25. Well, great. You got your ass kicked. And the Cowboys now play the Giants on Thursday Night Football, which, I don't know, borderline their season. What are they going to start 1-3 and come storming back? No chance. So you can't beat the Giants on a short week. It's on the road. Tough, sneaky, tough game. The Giants actually look pretty good, but Cowboys defense just looks atrocious. Talk about overrated. Underrated. You know, I listened to the discourse last week about Bryce Young and a lot of former players and, you know, people on television like the Mel Kipers of the world that thought the world of Bryce Young. And full disclosure, I was pro Bryce Young. I would have taken him as well over CJ Stroud. So I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback when I say they made the wrong pick. Because I, like many people around the NFL, would have done the same thing. But then we watched the guy play with several different coaches and several different pieces. And independent of his organization, he was atrocious. Like, despite your owner and despite your play calling, there are going to be plays when you're just sitting there in the pocket and there is a guy wide open. And that has nothing to do with the dysfunction in the organization. You're either making the pass or you're not. And Bryce was just consistently not even coming remotely close to making the pass. And then Andy Dalton comes in. A guy who, let's face it, most people make fun of. He looked like Joe fucking Montana today. I get he's playing the Raiders, who, as Antonio Pierce said after the game, felt like a lot of guys on his own team quit. So Andy Dalton and that offense, which has been putrid, as Rich Gannon said last week on NFL radio when I was driving around, they had not had a lead during actual regulation of a game for 10 straight weeks dating back to last season. The 2 games they had won over that stretch were on last-second field goals. They had just never been up 7-0 or 10-7 at any point in a game over the last 10 weeks. And today they came out. He's the first quarterback this season to throw for 300 yards and throw 3 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half. You know why? He just looked like a normal NFL player. And you know an underrated part about the NFL is having a capable backup. Because most times your backup is going to be a former starter and a guy that's easy to make fun of. But if that guy gets inserted, can you win with him? Because how many good teams around the NFL wish Andy Dalton was their backup? Because ultimately, with the Panthers, it doesn't really matter. They're clearly not going to go to the playoffs with Andy Dalton. But if you were the Chiefs, if you were the Bills, if you were one of these teams, and your quarter, like Mahomes, if he had that play where he tried to kneel it and his knee kind of got bent funny, what if he just had to miss a couple weeks? Could they win with Carson Wentz? I think we'd say, yeah, because of the defense and Andy. But what if Carson's just terrible? Like, one thing I know about Andy Dalton is, like, he can just play in the NFL. And when he's on, he's not bad. And today, obviously, he was really good. But I do think that was more a reflection of, like, Andy Dalton today is light years better than Bryce Young. And I think he's a guy that's easy for everyone to make fun of. And it almost feels a little unfair. Overrated. This guy's the most overrated coach in the NFL by a mile. He has a huge media contingent behind him. He wears designer clothes. He's got a $50K watch on, and he wears capris. He's yet to win a big game in his NFL career. And now, because Tua has a concussion, is gone for who knows how long, has to play with random quarterbacks. And his team looks like shit. If Tua's not able to come back this year, Miami is liable to lose every single game they play. And that includes any game they play against the Patriots. Because Mike McDaniel, who's just some genius, one, he wasn't winning big games when he had Tua. They started 9-3 last year because they play great in the sun. The moment it gets cold, they imploded, and now they're imploding again. And I didn't like him as a playoff team this year with Tua. Looked pretty on point before Tua got concussed again. Obviously, there can't be a soul that likes him now when they're rolling out random quarterbacks named Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. Underrated. I said this before the draft, partly because I was just hearing this around the NFL, is there were countless teams in the NFL, and most of them had no access to either of these two players, so it didn't necessarily matter, but you still rank your draft board, that had Malik Nabers over Marvin Harrison. Now, it's not a criticism of Marvin Harrison, just like there were teams with Julio Jones and AJ Green. You got to rank the two of them. Like, you can't have both guys number one. I do think Malik Nabers has a chance to be a superstar. I mean, today, his touchdown in the corner of the end zone where he drags his feet, his athleticism, his explosiveness, his ability to jump, the dude is a freak show. And these last 2 weeks, holy shit. Hold on to your ass. Who knows how it's going to go throughout the season? Ultimately, his quarterback's Daniel Jones, and at any moment can throw 3 interceptions and have 2 fumbles in the game. But if Daniel Jones is just solid and can get that young kid the ball, hold on to your ass if you're a defense. I had the volume on for a minute of that game today, the Giants and the Browns. And the one thing the broadcast kept saying is Jim Schwartz told us in the meetings, this guy's got a chance to be special. And I don't think he's just saying that. He knows. You see him on tape. Like, this guy is a baller. Overrated. When things are easy, solid players, like when your defense and your running game is kicking ass, it can make kind of a mid-level quarterback look like a star. If he has to throw for less than 15 passing attempts and half of them are just kind of layups. Today, in a huge spot, down 3 points against a team that's defense was playing awesome, Derek Carr threw one of the worst interceptions you'll see so far through 3 weeks. You don't need a touchdown. You don't need a huge explosive play there. The only thing you cannot do is throw that pass. And Derek has just had so many of these throughout his career where it's like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Throw the ball into the ground. Take a sack. You cannot make that pass. And everyone, and listen, I like Derek. I root for Derek and the Saints. Obviously, I have some money on them to make the playoffs, to win the division. That play cannot happen. And it's plays like that that make me go, my divisional bet's going to be a little more difficult to hit than I thought, because not everything's going to be as easy as the first 2 weeks. You're going to be in some of these tie games against high-level defenses. You cannot make, I mean, that's a bottom 10 quarterback type decision. It's just that's low level ball and embarrassing for a guy that's been in the league a decade, making the money he's making, to even just make that decision. It's I'm at a loss for words when the ball left his hands because it was just so dumb. It did not need to happen. And it's one rookie quarterbacks, whatever. A guy with that much experience just pissed me off. I had the Saints as well. Underrated. Speaking of that game, Saquon Barkley is a badass. And we can debate whether you should take running backs high or not. When you do take them high, there better be no debate about their ability. They may get hurt. Obviously, you come to a line where how much are they worth? But if you are going to pull the trigger on a guy in the top 10, especially at 2 overall, should be like, yeah, this guy's a total package. See with Bijan Robinson, really high pick. No one debates. Freak show. Remember Christian McCaffrey was drafted 8th. No debate. Freak show. Saquon Barkley today, who has battled injuries and for the majority of his career played on a shitty team. I mean, really bad. 2 years ago, they were solid. Best year that he ever had with the Giants. They won 9 games. And for most of that, his offensive line was atrocious. Now he has a good offensive line with weapons around him, and you're seeing the dude shine. And to me, the coolest part, like to be a great running back, the last attribute, an unnecessary attribute, like you do not need this to be a great running back. Breakaway high-end speed. You do not need it. There's been a small select guys that have truly had it, right? Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson. Saquon is one of those guys. When he gets in the open field, he looks like a Ferrari. And today you saw that speed on basically the game-winning touchdown, which was the deciding factor in the game because the Eagles were in major trouble. And Saquon said, remember that $27 million guaranteed you gave me? Remember all those dudes, guards and centers, getting $40, $50 million in free agency? I got $27 million. And every time so far this season we've left the field at the end of the game, you went, yeah, I might be the best player on the field. How about them apples? I love touchdowns. Tutties, taking it to the house, in for 6. I call them tugs. Whenever you call a touchdown, one thing's for sure. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. On the ground, in the air, special teams or defense, we do not care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something as simple like picking a player to score a touchdown or how many touchdowns will be in a game. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Ready to do a touchdown dance on your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN, J-O-H-N. That's code JOHN. New customers get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Overrated. The hype on Caleb Williams reminds me of Trevor Lawrence. It's so strong, and we've been hearing it for so long that the expectations get out of whack. You expect to turn on their games. This happened to Lawrence that year with Urban Meyer, and it's happening right now with Eberflus and the Bears. Multiple touchdowns. Just guys slicing and dicing the defense. You turn on the game and you go, is this guy good? That's the first thing you think to yourself. Is this guy a good player? It's crazy how off we are right now on the hype of this player and what this player actually is. Now, the difference, even if he has a terrible season, he has physical attributes that Bryce Young does not possess. Arm strength, his body type, his athleticism. So I don't care how shitty this year ends up being. Just say worst case scenario, it doesn't get better. A lot more to work with there. But we all have to agree the start of the season, we can blame whoever we want. Virginia McCaskey, who's 107 years old, Eberflus with his haircut and his beard, Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, the shitty O-line. There are plays, independent of all those people, all those variables, that he is not making. And honestly, they're not that close. Like when a guy is open and no one's around you, 15, 20, 30 yards down the field, when you are that hyped up, when you're the number one pick, and we've seen you do it in college, people expect you to make the pass. And then it flies 7 yards over the guy's head. We're all sitting on our couch going, what the fuck is this? Like, we're all thinking it. So I'm not acting like this guy's career's over. Obviously, everyone's going to blame everyone else except him, but we have to admit, so far, there's probably not a more overrated player in the league, which is unfair because he had never even played in the league. But just based on hype, it's not even close. Underrated. Colin and I talked about this, talked about it last week. LaFleur. I mean, everyone for 2 years, like, Mike McDaniel. It's like, yeah, guys, we get it. Funny glasses, funny pants. I'll bet against that guy every time in a big game. Yet LaFleur, who's been to the playoffs twice with Rodgers, again with Jordan Love, 3 times, won a playoff game last year on the road with Jordan Love, and had the 49ers on the ropes, just won back-to-back games with Malik Willis. I love Kevin O'Connell. Seems like a really impressive guy. I've never met him personally. Obviously, what he's doing with Sam Darnold speaks for itself. Been in the playoffs one time at home and lost to the Giants. Pretty sure, Daniel Jones was the quarterback that beat him. So it's like, listen, love Kevin O'Connell a lot. Let's see him win a big game, and then we can put him in that class with some of these other guys. I've seen LaFleur win playoff games. I know he's lost a few too, but been there a lot. And now he's winning games with Jordan Love, who was a nobody, 33 touchdowns last year, playoff win on the road, almost won another playoff game on the road. Now he's winning games with Malik Willis on the road. I think we need to put a little respect on old LaFleur's name. Overrated. Passing in college. Do you know that the University of Michigan, since Jim Harbaugh became the coach back in 2014, is 6-0 when their quarterback passes for less than 100 yards? In a day and age when we love the pass, and trust me, I love the pass, you love the pass is fun. Michigan, because of their style and how they dominate on defense and how well they run the ball, we saw them do it last year when they basically refused to pass an entire half against a top 15 team in Penn State and won the game. And they beat USC, where their quarterback, I'm pretty sure, threw for like 35 yards. And they did not have a passing. It didn't exist. They had to go 90 yards to win the game. And they couldn't pass. And they did it. So, listen, I'm not trying to anoint Michigan. You're obviously not going to beat Ohio State. I don't even think you could beat Penn State by not passing the ball. But that was an impressive win. And again, 6-0 in the Harbaugh era, which counts Sharon Moore right now, when they've passed for under 100 yards. Last but not least, underrated. I was mainly listening to the 49ers Rams broadcast with Sanchez and Kugler, whoever the play-by-play guy is. He's good. Sanchez can be a little goofy, but he's fine. But I would go back and forth because I was like, I just want to hear Tom Brady. And I saw last week, I didn't listen to the Tom Brady game last week. And I heard he improved a lot. And I'm not just trying to shit on Tom Brady to do this. Like, I'm a Tom Brady fan. Have been for 20 plus years. Admire everything he stands for, work ethic, playing, all that stuff. But I do view my broadcasters as entertainment. Collinsworth, he's an entertainer. Gruden went from 0 to 150 subscribers on YouTube. Why? He's entertaining. He knows how to play the game. That's all this is. And I listened to probably, a decent chunk today of Brady. Obviously, he sounds better than week 1 because he's not pausing all the time. But I don't really know like what he's bringing to the table, right? Beside, I'm Tom Brady. Because he's not super entertaining. He's not like Mr. Goofy Romo. He's not some huge personality behind the mic like Collinsworth or Gruden was. And it's just like nerdy football. That's not really what people are looking for in these broadcasts. I'm just coming to hang. I'm coming to hang with Tom freaking Brady for 3 hours. Let's just kick it. Let's just watch some ball. You throw some stories out. Let me hear some stuff. And listen, I'll be the first to admit, obviously, trying anything at that level, 3 games in, I'm not expecting him to be a finished product, but I'm just trying to map this out where it's going to go. And I go, like, what's going to be his thing? Because I don't think we're getting ever Collinsworth or Gruden, kind of the fun, crazy, goofy guy. Obviously, Madden was the best at that. And his personality isn't really Romo. And he's not ever going to be like Aikman asshole blasting people, which is my personal favorite. I don't know. I don't really see it. Now, I understand from a value standpoint, having Tom part of your company, advertisers. I'm not one of these moronic media people that just hate everything business. Like, you're not worth that. Like, he might be worth double that to them. But I'm just talking about from an entertainment standpoint, sitting there watching the game. It pains me to say this. I just think he's pretty bad. He's pretty bleh. Just meh. There's just nothing there. If it wasn't Tom Brady and just former player X, you wouldn't even notice. You'd be like, nothing would stand out. Which, again, a little like Caleb, the hype, he's got his own commercial. Not for like Tom, Allstate, or Dell Computers, or Samsung TVs. They literally made him a commercial about him becoming a broadcaster. So the hype, like Caleb, like Trevor Lawrence, just it couldn't be any higher. And you're watching and you go, let's be real. I don't know. Again, pains me to say this. Kind of sucks.